www.youtube.com/TAPKAC. So, here's the second part of the hospital adventure, which starts when I find out that I'm going to be staying here much longer than I think I am. Now, I mentioned the new attachments and having, new attachments and accessories. Let me show you some pictures. Now, for one thing, I have some attachments on my right hand and some now I had this thing right here before, but now I have even a new attachment right there. And having these new attachments, these particular new attachments, kind of reminded me of when I had to take Miraji, the Wonder Cat, to his final visit to the doctor, if you take my meaning. And one thing that's kind of, let's see, I came in without socks, as I mentioned before, so they gave me some new socks, and these little things right here that, they squeeze the leg, they squeeze in order to keep the blood pressure circulating, they alternate in the squeeze to keep the blood going. And it's kind of funny that they, this blue and red, it kind of looks like something out of, like when you're 8 years old and you try to make your own superhero costume, and here's your Wonder Boots, or whatever you want to call them. And of course we have the IV, which is, full of vitamins and minerals and other things. I call it liquid Salisbury steak, which is... The liquid Salisbury steak is a reference to a story that, my very dear friend, who was the one who adopted Miraji, the Wonder Cat, in the first place, we were working on this story, and it starts off when this couple decides to try some new experimental wonder drug. Hey, are you feeling this? Are you feeling that? Well, we want to pay you to try our new wonder medication. And so they try that, and it's nice and clean on the inside, but then it looks like, beyond the doors, it looks like a, abandoned warehouse or a factory, and, the guy gets nailed up on something and says, hey, where do I get some food? And the orderly says, see that bag right there? It's liquid Salisbury steak. Bon appetit. So, there's that. And, of course, there's my... I call it my ET finger because of the red glowing light that's taking my pulse. And of course there's the bandage on my nose right there. That's every once in a while, due to the body's natural oils and everything else, it kind of starts slipping down like something out of a Ren and Stimpy cartoon. And so I have to have that changed like every day basically. And now, one thing, so those are my attachments, and one thing about this place is, this is a nice place, this is a kind place. You're here to, be healed, and heal, and relax, and rest, and convalesce, and also, there are many places, there are many people who work in the medical field who, who work in the hospitals, and they've had some very nasty, surly patients who've thrown things at them and hollered and screamed and complained, and even if they're not hollering, they still mutter nasty things. And so this place has certain rules to keep it nice. This place is a healing environment. Aggressive behavior will not be tolerated. No physical assault, no verbal harassment, no abusive foul language, no threats, no failure to respond to staff instructions, zero tolerance for all forms of aggressive behavior. Incidents may result in removal from this facility, perhaps to another, and so, hello. So, in this place, if you're one of the doctors or one of the medical people, whether you're an intern or a candy striper or this is not to be tolerated. Here is a safe place where you can work, and I hope other hospitals take up the same kind of things. My dressings need to be removed or changed or cleaned up. My wound, my belly gash here needs to be cleaned up every once in a while, and new dressings. And so the first time they say, well, it is going to be rather painful because it is going to be like, well, I mentioned the paper tape, leaving what looks like needle tracks when and so it's like duct tape with Gorilla Glue, and so they have to take this solution and just kind of, peel and, use the solution to peel off, and I ask for, they say, do you want a painkiller shot? Do you want some morphine? And I said, yeah, for this, because I know it's going to be kind of painful. Well, this does nothing for the surface. So I'm glad it did nothing for the surface, because everybody knows at least someone who, went into the hospital with one problem and walked out with a different problem, like some kind of addiction to a new painkiller, whether it's morphine or, any of the pills, and hence my former next door neighbors becoming my former next door neighbors. And at least one person you can talk to at any Narcotics Anonymous meeting, or possibly rehab place or detox place. So, fortunately, the next time I get my dressing, I say, no pain shot. They say, really? And I say, yeah, because it's not going to do anything for the surface. So there's no reason to even bother. By the way, anybody who is on the side of, on the doctor's side, or the intern side, whatever, whoever's on the side of taking care of said patient, I have an idea. If it's not going to do anything for the surface, if it's just going to be, something for, placating an ego of painkiller, how about just take a syringe full of liquid vitamins or something and just say, here's your pain shot, and put it into their IV, and so they don't walk out with a new problem. It's a win-win situation for you and them. So, I mentioned this place being a nice place. During that second dressing, or redressing, the nurse came in with with an intern to observe, and so I explained why I'm not taking the pain shot, and just doing the in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And the fact that it's I who am explaining this. This proves you are not just a number here. You're not. Here we have patient 6555321, and he's here for blah 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 blah. And what we're gonna do is yada 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 yada. No, you are a person, and they let you explain. That is cool. So, what else? Well, oh yes. After that first redressing, I had the first cup of water that I had since before they went up my nose with a rubber hose. Hello, welcome back, Carter. And because I had to drink water to get it to go down, and and then there was the surgery, and then so I'm having my first cup of water, and this is my last cup of water. What? Yeah, nope. From there on, it's just a cup of ice pellets. And thinking, no, 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 and of course, yes, 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 and you can you can plead, you can cry, you can. Of course, I didn't cry, but I can plead, I can beg, and I can wax poetically all I want. You can write sonnets of just having a cup of water and how refreshing it is. That would be along the lines of Shakespeare and William Blake and Dante Alighieri and. But no, you're not getting that water, and you're not getting a cup of water. So this right here, this lollipop stick thing with a sponge on the end, this becomes your friend. This is your phial of Galadriel. This lights you when there's nothing around you but darkness. Of course, this sounds a little dramatic, but come on. If you can't just have a cup of water, yeah, that does sound a little bit dramatic. So you can, that and kind of soak up soak up something, and maybe put it between your tongue and the roof of your mouth. Just kind of, and get maybe a teaspoon of water, and which is super refreshing anyway. Like I said, this becomes your friend. And sometimes, well, you think you're being sneaky by letting the cup of ice pellets sit for a bit so you can get a teaspoon of water. Well, a teaspoon of water is not going to do anything. But if you were to get a full thing of water, then like this, for instance, and because you're not dropping anything below out the other orifice, if you're not manufacturing any product, if you take my meaning, then it's just going to sit there, and it's going to possibly go up your thing, up your esophagus and down into your lungs, and you're going to drown in your own poo. Who wants to go out like that? Yeah, so anyway, another thing, another one of those, back to the other attachments. I have these little tubes that go out to these things about this big and about this thick, about the size of a jelly donut. And at the end are these, what they do is they crush it, like that, and add it back to the tube. And the reason being is what it does is, it eventually unfolds itself, as you can see here, creating a vacuum to suck out any, for lack of a better term, ugly juice. So, eventually, and I have visitors, fortunately, and like one guy who was a co-employee for a while, then he was not, and then he came back for a while, and then he was not, but he came by and visited, and brought me some books to read, and also there was a friend of my mom's who just happened to live about 10 or 15 miles away from me, who brought me a charger so that way I could use my cell phone and be on social media, what have you, and post some pictures. And of course there would be my daily guests, which was the crew, saying, do you feel this, do you feel that, do you feel the other. And now during the night, the place would be dim, but not dim enough. So what I would do is I would just take a towel and I would wrap it around, like this, kind of recreating the Twilight Zone episode Eye of the Beholder, sometimes known as Private World of Darkness, so that way I could have my eyes and have some darkness but still be able to breathe. And by that coloration you can see there's mucky muck going out my nose through the rubber hose. And I get a little I get a little agitated, a little bit, kind of when they keep asking, have I, moved any product out the other end? To which I say, well, it's not like I have much material to work with. And they say, well, you do have material to work with because we've seen the X-rays. Okay, fair enough. So, what to do about this? Eventually, after watching many movies, and by the way, speaking of movies, everybody has that list of, oh, I could watch this over and over again and never get bored. Oh, yeah? Well, I had that kind of put to the test. Because, there was one channel that had My Cousin Vinny 1,000 times, which I love very dearly, and Goodfellas 1,000 times, which I love very dearly, and Shawshank Redemption, and, while channel surfing, there's, superhero movies that I haven't, actually seen, but let's see, it's funny that one channel has like Avengers Endgame, another one has a Spider-Man movie, another one has a Iron Man movie, and then of course there's documentary channels showing like the history of peanut butter and the history of grocery stores, and how the people pushing their own basket to get their own stuff came into being, and so finally Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the good version from 1971 with Gene Wilder, that comes on. And of course, we all grown up with this, and we all know about Grandpa Joe, who's been in bed for 20 years, and he gets up, and I finally say, as kind of a symbolic gesture, I call and say, look, can I take a walk? Is there a way I can consolidate, like have some things disconnected so I can take a walk? And lo and behold, yes, they can. So, I get the wound vacuum thing, unclap front of the end of my bed, to this IV buddy. Well, the IV buddy is that big rolling thing that has all your things, and the liquid Salisbury steak, and you just gotta move that around with you. Hey, buddy, let's go for a walk, and it's kind of like you're in a super old movie where you're like when someone's going down to the dungeon with a candelabra. So, picture time. So, here I am with my slipper socks, and there's the nose hose, and and there's the wound vac thing clamped, to the IV buddy, and so here's my room right here, and gentlemen, start your engines. I take one lap around here. Well, I don't take a lap. I slowly but surely, move around just one lap here, and then back to my room. And later, 2 laps around here, and then later, like over a period of days, I go like around here, and then, down around here, and then up here, and then around here, and then back to my room. And then because of my doing these laps and getting myself up, that symbolic gesture of getting up and walking when Grandpa Joe decides to get up and walk after 20 years of being in bed is actually even more symbolic, because the action of walking is getting my factory open back up. The power is turned back on, the fuses are turned on, the conveyor belts are running, and it's slowly but surely moving product out the assembly line. And because of that, I finally get to have the nose hose taken out and be reintroduced to food. And as a reintroduction to food, we have, let's see, some orange Jello, some apple juice, and I think that's a popsicle thing. And every meal that I have comes with, let's see, it's there's a bowl of broth, a Jello, apple juice, and maybe an applesauce and a popsicle to reintroduce the body to this thing called food. So I finally get discharged, and when it comes to the wound vac thing, which it's like a machine, and and the gas there, it's supposed to kind of like hoover it up, hoover it back together, and so I go back to work, and just have this machine, sitting in the baby chair of the little basket because I'm on light duty getting up the small parts, and eventually I have to, every once in a while I have to go to the wound center and have it redressed and cleaned up, and they measure it until finally, hey, you're free to go, and you don't have to come here anymore, and you don't need the wound vac anymore. And for being at home as a musician, I have a lot of long extension cords because because of all the instruments. I can't have everything all in one power socket, so I have like things in a socket over there, a socket over there, one behind here and over there, and so I have the wound vac plugged into one of these mini extension cords that I can just drag around the house, and so when I don't have to have this thing anymore, and I say, hey, can I get off this diet that I was given? They say, oh yeah, you can eat what you want. Well, I did eat what I wanted, and well, my blood, on that day that I said eat what I want, my blood pressure was 130 over something, and 2 days later I went to go see my regular doctor, and it was 180 over something. Yeah, so when you're told you can eat what you want, don't splurge. I didn't even know I was splurging that hard, but dang. Uh, Another thing, a lesson learned from this is, well, at the place where you work, yes, go ahead. Be the employee that can be counted on, the one who always shows up, the one that everybody knows is gonna, who's the one that won't cop out when there's danger all about, who's gonna, and even if they might go begrudgingly, but still, things will be done. If the company even goes out, go ahead, be the before that, be the kind of employee where someone's going to say, hey, at their subsequent job says, hey, this place needs this person, but they can go on without you, because a lot of companies say that they're like a family, but it's more like a band that changes staff, because like say for instance Yes or The Cure or Duran Duran, all the bands with many lineups. Sometimes someone quits, sometimes they come back, sometimes guitar tech might be the new guitarist, sometimes a session player, whether it's for tour or for the studio, that maybe they become occasionally the new keyboardist. That's and so yeah, go ahead, be cool, but the place will go on, even when you're welcome back, with a hero's welcome. And that's my story for the day, and good day to you.